5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody. I'm Dear Myrtle, your friend in genealogy. Welcome to Mondays with Myrt, where we talk about anything and everything that comes across our desk and has in the last week or so. I am especially grateful to those of you who have decided to subscribe to this channel. And notice it's a very tiny icon of a bell that's ringing next to that word subscribe. That means if you do that setting under notifications, you'll get a notification anytime old Myrt decides to go live. Now, one of the things I'd like to do is bring up who's on the panel today. And first of all, I'd like to bring up, hello, I'm still getting used to this great StreamYard interface. Let's bring up Hillary, and we're also going to bring up Daniel. These are my main co-hosts today. They will keep me going in case I forget what's next on the docket. Good to see you both. You want to test your mics?
Yeah, I'm
thinking
working.
Okay, this is good. I also want to mention that True Lewis, who has saved my bucket, by the way, is administering over on the YouTube side to monitor the comments. However, I do have an option that I can see all of your comments. For instance, Frank is saying, hello, everyone from Potsdam. And Jenny is out there. She is saying, hello. Ellen is one of my panelists. Doris Haskell is here. Yay. Good to see you from Rock Springs, Wyoming. And Melissa, the archive lady, is in the house. Very good. And I'm skipping all through these. I want to know where people are signing in from. Like Cindy's here from California, Connecticut. And Betty Lou is here today. Oh, Valerie made it. That's great. Sherry's here, and she's working the YouTube side. She's one of our panelists, and these things are so important to me to see where people are logging in from. And you're the lucky ones that have time to be here live, so your comments mean a lot to me. They really do. Okay, let's pull up the rest of the panelists. We're going to be speaking in a little bit with Jenny. And let me turn off that comment wherever I did it. Yeah, there we go. Ellen's here, but she's expecting a repairman, and so her dog's going to be a little bit noisy. Randy's going to be here. He's done some deep work. You'll find out more about what that is. Okay, Jenny Joyce will be joining us. She's not a regular panelist. She's our special guest today. We're going to be looking at Cite-Builder, CITE.com, CITE-builder.com. Got it right finally. And our gal in Germany, Ursula, is here. She's got a good question for us. We're going to be discussing that. Melinda's here having her cup of coffee from Texas, and you're going to be moving, girl, so you better get packing before too long. All right, and Robin is here. I'm going to start getting the regular group here. 1 second. Robin and Randy did something interesting last week. If you want to know more about that BYU Labs project that's showing up over on Family Search that has to do with full text search of U.S. land records, and what's the other database? I don't remember, Robin. Randy, maybe y'all do. Anyway, yeah. It was very cool because during the show last time, somebody started using it and found a document that they'd been looking for an answer for about 40 years, and the breakthrough happened during the show, which was pretty incredible. Yeah. So thank you to you two for that. Let me see who else is in. Oh, we've got our guy in Germany. Frank is here. Are you off work? I don't know. I shouldn't say, should I? I don't know. But anyway, that's who's here with us today. And so if my lead host, Daniel, will move everyone down, I will pull our guest for today, Jenny, up on the screen. Okay. And Jenny, I'm going to share my screen. I got to tell you, it was really cool because, I try to practice the night before. So I went to sitebuilder.com, site-builder.com, and I practiced. And it was very intuitive, very easy for me to use.
Good.
And yeah, it made me feel pretty good. So what we're going to do is I'm going to share full screen in just a little momento. Got to find the right present screen. Share full screen, entire screen. Here we are on the website. I guess I do have to log in. Okay. And I am using Chrome. And here's the goal, guys. I have this picture of my grandmother. And that picture, I'm going to bring it up. Normally I bring things up in Snagit, but I'm going to use Microsoft Paint today. And we are going to use Site Builder, and then in Microsoft Paint, add the citation like we did last week with another document here in an area that we will create below the photo. All right, but first we need to not have closed Site Builder. Don't you love it? Oh, golly. I'll bring it back up again. So, Jenny, why the heck did you do this? What made you decide to do this particular project?
Well, I, for a very long time, realized there was a need for genealogists to make it easy for them to cite their sources.
Yeah.
And I even initially thought of academics who are used to, say, doing citations in Harvard and suddenly are publishing in a journal that wants Chicago.
Yes, totally different manual of style for citations. Yeah.
So I'd been saying to my husband, Andy, for a long time, you should code this up. We should do this. But it was November 2020 that he was made redundant from his job. So I said, oh, well, good. Rather than just hanging around the house and doing nothing, you can start writing this. We first went live in September 2021.
Yeah.
But obviously, when you think about the size of evidence explained, if we'd have waited till I coded up every single rule, we'd have never gone live. So it's constantly growing, and we're constantly adding new rules to it, usually driven by what people are asking for.
Yes, it's where they have their challenges. It's like when I taught computers at Votech. In Excel at the time, there were 350 different operands that I could use, and I may as well teach the 10 or 15 that my students needed, as opposed to the whole thing that we might not get to the ones they needed. All right, and speaking of this, I imagine the first question our attendees would have would be, what about EE4 that just came out, Evidence Explained 4 by Elizabeth Schoen Mills? If my co-host could share that link, it might be nice. Anyway, tell the tale of how you got your copy, etc.
Yes, well, I heard about the release, and I saw that Pat had put up on Facebook that she'd got her copy. I couldn't find where I could get a copy. So I messaged
Because
her.
you live in Australia.
I live in Australia.
Yeah.
So I messaged her, where did she get it from? And she came back to me and said, well, I got it directly from the publisher, but I'm not sure if you can get it elsewhere.
Right.
So as Roots Tech was coming up, we arranged that she'd order a second copy, and that I would, for me, and that we'd do a handover at Roots Tech.
And we did. And so that worked. That's me blinking. Don't worry, guys. It's me being weird. Um, the 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 concept there was you needed to have this in your hand, and you
Yes.
were at Roots Tech. You had a booth. A couple of times I couldn't even get there to talk to you because it was busy, and I think that was the number one question people had. What it, who is, what about EE4's new additions? And so, what have you done so far since you've barely been home from Roots Tech? I mean, doesn't it take a whole day or day and a half to get from Salt Lake to your place in Sydney, Australia?
Yes, it took us a little bit longer than we expected. For the second year in a row, we had flight problems.
I hear you. Well,
So,
let's take this. I know where I need to go. You have taken those templates, and I want to bring this up. Let me find this one other thing. There was a gentleman who wrote an article comparing
yes,
version 3 um, and the new version of Evidence Explained. And Elizabeth brought this to my attention and to the world, actually. Let me pull this up, and I think this is too big to share. He said the 14 standardized templates that you're referring to here, and you've already added them. Good on you. Um, really make a significant and welcome change in streamlining citation writings. Okay.
yeah, I think you've got to be careful with these templates. They're up there, people can use them if they want to, but
Yeah.
because they're generic, sometimes it's hard to make them fit what you want to happen. As a for example, the birth certificates, birth or death certificate, which template was that?
Yep. Oops, sorry.
Whatever number that was,
Hmm.
um, it doesn't fit very well for other countries other than the US.
Yeah, that is the challenge since Elizabeth does try very hard, but she is US based.
That's right.
Um,
So
she's, so
we've got the
parent,
templates there, but people may find that it's easier still to come down to the specific rules um, that we have available for everything. So
Mhm.
as Pat's going through, sorry, Myrt, I should say, is going through now, you see here we've got a specific rule for United States births where you can fill in the details.
Mhm.
And it's got the information that's needed there, but it doesn't have what's needed for the UK, where you need the volume and page number and the registration district to order them.
Exactly. It will be somewhat different. Let me pull back and get onto your main page.
So
One of the things,
I
has
was going to
someone
say one other
shared?
thing. Sorry, yeah, I've started going through the book. As you
Yeah.
say, it's a lot of work. And
Hmm.
so far, I've updated newspapers and some of the images for photographs.
Huh.
Sometimes Site Builder 3 and 4 are identical, and sometimes there are differences. So
Okay.
sometimes you'll just see a style of evidence explained. Sometimes you'll see evidence explained fourth edition. Sometimes evidence explained third and fourth edition. Sometimes just third edition.
So Randy has a question for you. He asked which version of evidence explained is used in your site builder. You're beginning to integrate. You did the templates,
Yeah,
and now, I mean, it's only been a week since you've been home, barely.
yeah,
So as it comes up, you will be adding more version 4. But if
yes,
you look at the previous link that I posted, I don't know if I can bring it up. That link,
yeah.
apparently Yvette Hotink over there in the Netherlands brought Dr. Traiman's blog post to
Yep.
the attention of Elizabeth Shown Mills. And that's what this is. And I'm showing it to you so you all get the brand recognition. And I mean, literally, you can see how it's scrolling so fast. I mean, he has a pretty lengthy, let me zoom in a little, pretty lengthy description of, okay, basic patterns for archive materials as it was in 1216, but now it's in chapter 11.7. So that's pretty in-depth comparisons that he's doing. So there's your answer, Randy. As far as changes, but what changes cite-builder.com has incorporated at this point includes those particular, let me scroll back. Oh, and this is the best way I know to get back to the main page.
The best way
Right.
is any page has got a link to get you to the top level.
Oh, right
or
here.
you can use the breadcrumbs, but down the bottom there's a grey box usually that will take you top level as well.
Oh, okay, perfect. All right, so let's do our task at hand. These are the templates, but we'll go to the top level, and I know I need images.
Yep.
And this is not a problem. I think you rank these in order of maybe importance as opposed to alphabetical order. Is that what's going on here?
Basically, yeah. What I thought the most common used ones are at the top.
Okay, so this is just for images, guys. Just for images. Privately held of an individual, privately held of two individuals, privately held group or place photo, digital version privately held. Here's one with the two individuals. That's what I'm going to have to use because the photo has my grandmother and her mother. Okay. And but you have a couple of other options. One, if the photograph is in the Library of Congress or the Archives of Ontario. Now, I'm thinking that this is editable, that if it's a photograph in some other archive, I can override where it says Library of Congress. Or is that a good idea?
You could do when you get it, but the difficulty is a lot of particular repositories have their own codes and styles of yes, they've got their styles, but their codes for what's needed to get to photos. So if it doesn't work to just make a quick change, then you use the contact me link and ask for whatever archive you need added.
I think that is important. Although there are, 190 countries throughout the world where their archives may or may not use the same numbering system. But you had to these are main ones for people that we happen to know that are going to be asking you for assistance. So Betty Lou said, so this site provides a more generic citation than what is found in genealogy software programs like Roots Magic or Family Tree Maker or Legacy Family Tree. Yeah, I think that's a fair statement.
Not being terribly familiar with those programs,
Trust
I would
me.
say it's more specific to your exact need.
Yes. It's kind of convoluted in our genealogy in the genealogy programs that Betty Lou mentioned. What we have is a lot more direction here, like the distinction between digital version with two individuals versus one.
Yep.
So let's bring up my graphic. I need to pull up Paint first so that we can think about what we're talking about here. Paint. I'm going to use Paint. I'm on Windows 11, and I actually had to download this program because it doesn't come free. I mean, it's still free, but it doesn't come automatically loaded. As soon as I told Windows 11 that I wanted it, it gave me the link to download it. So you won't have a problem there. All right, let's move yours over here. But that's our inspiration, okay? And so this person, and I'm thinking left to right. This is Frances Irene and surname Goring. And it's her mother, Estelle May Phillips Goring, because she is Goring in this picture.
Mm.
I'm guessing that my grandmother, such a cute girl, is, I think she's about 2.5 or 3 years old. Well, that's a lot of hair, but my grandmother's hair always did grow fast. I've inherited that trait. That's an anecdote I haven't documented in my genealogy software. Anyway, so I'm going to say 1909.
You can put a circa in there.
Yes, that's what I meant. Oh, thank you for helping me. Okay, and the image year.
That's when you scanned it, or when it was scanned.
Oh, I have no idea.
Well, just guess. Again, you could do a circa.
Well, I'll just say 20, 21st century. I'm pretty sure I did a lot in 2013.
Mm.
Then this is and then this is important. Holder of the address of the holder's address. I'm going to just say privately held. Because that is the protocol that Elizabeth says if you're going to be publishing this in an article. Yeah. Mm. Valerie says, love those banana curls on your grandma. My mom used to do that style on me. It reminds me also of who's the little girl, Shirley Temple kind of girl. Of course, this predates Shirley Temple, but anyway. Valerie, I'm so excited to see you again. Oh, and Hillary says something important. Family Historian has some templates in, and this means in the newest version 7. Hillary, come up and let me just ask you a little bit about this. Okay, so when you say templates, these are a few citation templates.
Yeah, you just type in the information from your source. Well, I actually use a program to do that. I use Aura to do that, online repository assistant. But you can just type in from a template what you want, and it'll write your citation for you.
It tries, yeah. Their genealogy software does have some citation options, but they're not as comprehensive as you see. You saw the library of main categories, and then when I clicked on images, I had all those other options. So this is a lot more detailed. When did I view it? Okay,
2024.
Yeah. Okay, and it's in the Goring.
Okay. Now, before you fill in that field, I mean, you could put it in there, but if you scroll down a little bit, you see you've got 2 black boxes.
Yeah, let me actually make this bigger here. Yeah.
Yeah, you've got Evidence Explained 3rd edition and Evidence Explained 4th. If you hold your Shift key down and press click on Evidence Explained 4th edition,
yes,
you can see that the collection name has no red box around it. That means it is not used in that style.
Okay.
The dotted box is optional information, and a solid border is needed for a particular style. So for any style, you can just shift click to see which are the fields that are needed for that style.
Yeah, and you're explaining that right here, that I can do it. And I also think up above, hold down the shift key and click on the style button to highlight the fields that are used by that style. All right.
Yes.
What do these little things mean? Save as a
Oh,
favorite name. Oh,
those
that
are
would be good.
favorites. You can save Richley Erickson because you're going to type it a lot of times. If you click on that little heart, it's just added that to your surname favorites. So in future, you can pull down, there'll be a down arrow when you use a surname field, and you can select it. That's particularly useful, I think, for places, and church names can be favorited, so that if you've got a church name that's St. Peter and St. Paul, you can be consistent whether you've got an ampersand or the word and in there.
Yep.
It's been pointed out to me that it's very useful for New Zealand place names that can be kind of difficult to spell if they're Maori. But anything you can use, a lot of fields have favoritable. Collection name is favoritable. URLs, website titles, etc. Things that people will use a lot can be favorited. That is a premium feature, though. So if you're only using the basic version, you haven't got favorites.
And it's like $20 a year, US.
Yeah, about that. Yeah.
And I should, for full disclosure, you gave me a gift of access to it, but Mr. Myrt is signing up. He told me he wants to support this project and is telling people about it. He's emerging as one of your PR people you did not know in the Northern Hemisphere. Okay, I could see this being used by our friend, the archive lady, and the collection name could be the Goring family file and whatever number or barcode she may have assigned to that folder or Hollinger box or something like that, so she could pull up the original. So that is really good. And then I am going to add 3-year-old Frances with her mother, Estelle. Okay, so that's a discursive note and something not necessary.
No.
Mr. Myrt, you're getting kudos for that. True Lewis on the YouTube side is saying, yay, Mr. Myrt, he's doing his thing. I love it.
Yeah, the Elizabeth allows for some discussions for photos, but bear in mind that we never want to add too much information to a citation. Sometimes people want to add every single bit of information. Like if they've got a marriage certificate, they want to add all the witnesses and things like that.
Yeah.
You need to think of a citation as like an address, a street address to get you to the house. It doesn't need to tell you what color carpet is inside the house. It doesn't need to tell you how many bedrooms are inside the house. It just needs to get you to that house.
Mr. Myrt is saying he wants to use this program, not just support it. He's working on a major project for a war game of the U.S. Civil War that isn't just Gettysburg. It's the whole map, including the ocean. So the navies will be involved. And he is having to compile a lengthy list of resources, and he wants to cite them in the full citation format. All right, what do I do next?
Now you click on the style you want. You click on the black button corresponding to the style that you want to create the citation in. And
Okay.
there you go. It's created it for you. You've got your first footnote, your subsequent footnote, and your bibliography or source list.
Okay, now it does say privately held.
Yep.
So I'm going to go up and modify.
Yep.
And take this out, which is very reasonable. And now I'm going to hit it again. And it's telling me this, isn't it?
It's saying you need to have something there. That said, since what you're going to do with this is cut and copy and paste it into something, you can always paste it with that missing bit and just delete it.
That's what I'm planning to do.
I noticed that what she has, what Elizabeth Shone Mills has, is something like privately held or private address, and then she's just put in a town and a state.
Oh, okay. I can do that. Okay, let's see what that looks like. Okay, now because I can't see all of it, it's really good that we have this clipboard thing. I need to make my mouse pointer a lot bigger. But I'm going to do it. Click. It's copied to my clipboard.
Yes.
Now.
You can paste it wherever you want it to go.
So it needs to go in my genealogy software as a citation for the image. Sometimes I also put that at the beginning of the notes about the image, just so it's there. But then I would say things like her mother, that particular necklace that her mother is wearing was I have in my possession as well, or whatever I want to say about it, that she loved her mom. Her mom died when she was about 7 years old. Okay, so now we are in Paint. Let's see if I can zoom in on that. Make it a lot bigger. And just like we did last week using Snagit, I'm going to take this little handle, and this works the same in any photo editing software. And I'm making a space to go up here with the letter A to insert a text box. And that text is still on my clipboard, guys. And I'm going to just hit Control V to paste it right here. And you'll see that right now I need to kind of move that text box up. Looks pretty good. It's so zoomed in that it's pixelating. But I'm going to do this practically every week because I want people to begin to do this for every document and every photo. When you download it, do the site-builder.com. And it doesn't matter from here on in. By the time you've modified this, and I'll do a file save as, or save. Well, it's saving it. It happens to be it's not a very good title, but anyway, this stays with that image. If you upload it to Flickr, metadata is scraped. It's taken away. It's removed. But this is not removed because it's on the face below the image itself. Okay. Yeah. Thank you for all the private comment works you're doing with the team members here, Hillary. I appreciate it. Okay. So interestingly, I think this is Monta. Maybe one day tell us how to use Clipboard. I don't even know how to find it. Well, this is an important thing to bring in right now, okay? let me quit the screen share, and we're going to have a philosophical discussion to help Monta. Our computers, Macs, and let's get, who are my Mac users? Let's pull Ursula up. You also have a clipboard.
Yeah, maybe.
Yes, you do.
Demonstrate it. We're just having the discussion. So there's a place on our Windows computers like I use and like Ursula uses over on her Mac. And there's a way for you to, in the case of Jenny's site-builder.com, to put things on that clipboard. It's kind of a secret hidden place. I don't know where it is on our computers, but I know if I turn off my computer, it clears the clipboard.
Yeah. It's in the memory on your computer. Yeah. It's not in a...
means, yes, exactly. That means it's memory resident. It's not on my hard drive. Okay, so it's in the RAM, but it can't tell you where it is in the RAM. And so I will tell you there are several ways to do it. I mean, I could have right-clicked. Let me take an example. I'll pull up Microsoft Word. That would be a good thing because it's still in my clipboard, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay, and remind me to share my screen. And since it's still in my clipboard, it will be there until I put something else there. Oops. You can't hit cancel, can you? Silly old Myrt. Entire screen, this one, share. Okay. All right, so we know that I copied and pasted it into Microsoft Paint. And I can right-click. Doesn't want to do it here. I'm going to do Control-V, and there it is. And apparently I had 2 dots.
Okay, that's because you put a full stop at the end, and every citation always ends with a full stop. So I put in one automatically.
Okay. Another way to do it on my Windows, which is different from what Ursula does, is to hit the Control-V. And I can't use Control-P because that means print. But Control-V makes me think of this. I'm going to just do, like, put it right here. Like I'm taking my 2 fingers and making a V. Put it right here in this document in Microsoft Word. Okay? And that puts a copy of it wherever I am. Sometimes you can right-click, and in this case, it's not liking me. There's my right-click. I must have hit left-click by mistake. Let's go down here. Thanks for explaining why I have double dots there. So there's my right-click paste option.
Yep.
Okay, but Ursula has a Mac, and she doesn't have a Control key.
No, but she has a Command key, so it's a Command-V.
Let her tell.
Sorry, yeah.
Yeah. So I do the Command-C or V, and then it's going to get me there.
So Command-C would copy, just like my Control-C. Like, let's take this one, and I'm going to highlight it so you can see that it's different. Okay? I'm going to go down here and do Control-V. Oh, interesting. Didn't decide. Oh, because this isn't what I had. Control-C to copy it. And now I'm going to do Control-V, and it pasted. Well, and I had replaced the original generic no yellow highlight with the yellow highlighted paragraph. And Ursula may do the same. Command-C is copy, C like cat, and then Command-V like violin, V for violin, is the paste. So hopefully that helps. Yeah. Some people have extensions to clipboards and multiple things that it can remember, like the last 3 things. But that's the basic control. Yeah, victory, it's pasted. So
could I jump in a second, Myrt?
Yes.
I was going to say, if you hold down the Windows key and press the full stop,
Hold
you can
down the
actually
Windows
view
key.
and the full stop.
What is full stop? Enter.
No,
period.
to the right. Oh yeah, you call it period. I forgot. So it's Windows key and the period key. Should
Yeah.
pop up like, and then you got an emoji menu. But if you go to the top part of the menu, you can see that it's like a little clipboard button.
Oh my gosh, this is so dinky, guys. Right here. Yeah.
Yeah. And when you click into that, you can actually, well, you have to turn it on first, but you will actually see if you've like got 3 things you want to like paste in, you can see, well, here are the 3 things that I've copied and that have gone into my clipboard.
Okay, let me pick Guaymas Island, and I'm going to right click and pick copy, and right click and click paste. All right, now we'll go look at my full stop. Come on, where is it? It went away. Oh wait, shift.
Windows key and full Windows key.
Oh,
and
it's a
period.
Windows key. Thank you. So Windows key, period. See, I'm learning. Oh, it went on my other screen. It was there. Dang, can I make this bigger this way? No, I cannot.
Not that one.
But there's a little. So this does remember multiple items. Do they have such a thing like that, Ursula, over on your side?
Maybe.
I can answer that as well if you want.
It's possible. We don't know the answer to that.
I was
Obviously,
say,
I just learned something. I'm glad you all came around so that I could figure this out and learn this today. I love it. Okay, so hopefully, Monta, that answers your question. Anything else?
Well, I just want to say, as we've been playing with that, the clipboard, once you've generated a citation and copied it to the clipboard in Site Builder, you can paste it anywhere that you can paste anything. So we've illustrated it in a Word document. We've illustrated it attaching it to a photograph. Hang on a minute.
Yep.
But you can put it in your family history program. You can put it in your ancestry tree for the source. You can put it in family search, family tree. Basically anywhere that you can paste something, you can put it there. It will create things for you with italics, or if italics are needed. But if where you're pasting it doesn't support that rich text, the italicized words would just come out as plain words. That's beyond our control. Family search, family tree is one example where the source box does not support rich text. So you can't have bold or italics or anything. So yes, certain things should be italicized, but if you can't do it where you're trying to put your citation, then you just have to accept that.
You just have to accept it sometimes.
Yep.
All right. Well, this makes perfect sense. Let me share my screen again. So, folks, I am going to ask my panelists. Let's see. Let me ask my, between Hillary and Daniel, my co-hosts on this side, as opposed to our co-hosts on the YouTube side, I'd like you to pick an attendee, and I am going to gift them a premium membership to sitebuilder.com. And I'd like to hear from that winner how it all worked. So Randy has something to say. Let's bring you up. Talk to me a little bit here.
Yeah, there are other control keys, of course, and we all eventually learn to use them, but it's a learning curve.
Mhm.
So I was highlighting with a mouse, paragraphs, say. But
Mhm.
now I use Control A to highlight blocks of text, like a whole blog post or a list of DNA matches or book pages,
Mhm.
and then use Control C to copy it and Control V to paste it. And that saved me some time and error.
Yeah, if you got it right once, let's use that and not try to repeat. I met with some genealogists at the Guaymas Island Library. It's a teeny tiny little place. Um, and Mr. Myrt did all the check-ins, check-out of books and DVDs. But I do a family history drop-in. And the main reason I'm trying to pull people off of a certain genealogy website as the exclusive place for their free is because I want them to be able to copy and paste and have their best version on their computer. And if they need to do something at a site or an FS site or a MH site or whatever, and find my past, whatever, they can copy and paste and do as Jenny is telling us can be done with Site Builder. And but you need your own best. All right, I have now removed that period
Yep.
in that sentence because I don't need it. And there we go. Now let's talk about first footnote, subsequent, and bibliography. I use the first footnote all the time. That's the fullest citation, the most direct route, not assuming anything. But if I were to refer to this again and again, that would be a subsequent.
Yep.
Like if initially at the in a chapter of a book about my grandmother, I might have that as the focus image, and I would talk about her birth and that it was in Iowa, etc., and the challenge of her birth year. But then I would that part about the necklace that her mother's wearing and that I have it might be later in that on that page. And to cite that my reference to that, then I could just copy this part in a narrative discussion about what it is they're dealing with. But I think 99 and 44, 100% of my work is done here with the full citation. Mr. Myrt was particularly intrigued with this bibliography because he's creating one. He wants, apparently in the world of war games, where they have a map that takes up the biggest dining room table you've ever seen. Excuse me, I need a drink. I have some water here. I'm getting all choked up about site-builder.com. A second here. No, Daniel and Hillary, if you just randomly pick somebody and agree on it, let me know who's going to get the free premium. And I'm paying for it for them, literally. Okay, anything else from comments? Let's look on the other side. Sherry has an interesting point. Play around as every machine is different. She's on Windows 10 and using Daniel's tip of the holding down the Windows key on your keyboard plus the dot or period, the full stop. She doesn't have that on her Windows 10 machine. So good. Fabulous find option. Yep, that's another really detail. Oh, yeah, we could go on and on about shortcuts, but the point of it is let's understand the clipboard, at least for copy and paste right now. Very cool. CITE. builder.com. All right, so notice when I generated, it came out correctly without 2 dots. All right, any other thing that I should desperately know about before we announce the winner?
Well, yeah, as we've seen from the top level, there's lots of rules. I think there's nearly 600 at the moment, and we're adding them to them at all times.
Yeah.
We've got DNA, where artificial intelligence will be added soon. One of the ones we've got there is archives and special collections. That is because most archives do have their own way that they suggest you cite their sources. So we've got generic citations for various archives.
So I could actually make my own template, a personal template, if I started with something that you had and went from there. And that's kind of an advanced thing. Is it in the user guide to explain it?
It is.
Okay, our time, we need to get a move on.
Yeah, the idea of personal templates is more that you would have a rule, say a baptism, that if you're looking at a baptism in a baptismal register, the chances are you're going to have more than one entry because you're going to look for all the siblings. So you preload.
Okay.
You save things like the church name and the church address and the dates of the register, and then you save that as your baptisms at St Mary's Church, 1800 to 1812.
I totally get that. Yeah. Okay. And that, I think we have our winner. So Cynthia, what is Cynthia's last name?
Hall.
Oh, I think she may be my cousin. All right, Cynthia, you'll need to write to me. Myrt at dearmyrtle.com. Somebody needs to turn down their, I'm going to talk to you, Daniel, next. So you're going to have to turn down your speaker. So Cynthia, we do have the ability to spin a wheel. I just haven't done it yet. So in the future, I will add that super fantastic option. Okay.
So I haven't set it up yet, but I would like to offer your viewers a coupon code for people other than Cynthia. If they want to subscribe, we'll give them 20% off. And the code will be Myrt, M-Y-R-T.
Does it have to be upper and or lowercase?
Good question. We'll just make it capital M-Y-R-T.
So just the M is capitalized.
Yeah. I need to check with I'll need to get my co-creator, who's still asleep, to make that. So it'll be a few hours before that is available.
Okay. So I have typed it capital M-Y-R-T. And thank you for that. Cynthia, I think you may already know my email address, but my email address, well, I have several. Let's do this one. Dear Myrtle Archive @gmail.com, because that's part of our web address, or over on YouTube. Okay.
See, there's one question here that I perhaps ought to address from Melinda Coupon.
Yeah.
Coupon. She says, is there a reason why you don't state that this is making Chicago Manual of Style citations? Well, sometimes I do have a very specific Chicago style, but Elizabeth Shone Mill's style is based on Chicago, which is probably why Melinda thinks it looks like it is Chicago.
She expanded on it. That was her specific thing. I've been in classes with her for citation and also advanced evidence
analysis.
Yeah, something like that. And she said she just expanded on Chicago manual style because historians need more context about source, not just that. I mean, a death date, and we need more than just that it's an obituary. We need to know where that obituary is and when it was published. And, it's highly unlikely in a birth situation that the birth date getting reported in the newspaper wasn't typeset by the obstetrician who delivered the baby. So I think you get the point. All right. Wow. Well, thank you, Jen, for a wonderful discussion, for getting up in literally the middle of the night. Cynthia Hall, I think we are related. I can't remember if we're on the Goring side or the Froman side, or else we're just really good. I don't know. But anyway, write to me and I will send you, I will set it up for you so that you can have a free account. Okay, for a year. All right, thank you. Okay, now moving on, let us talk to Daniel. Now, normally, thank you, Jenny, so much for being here. You can go back to sleep if you wish. Okay, Daniel, you have been working on Project Infant. Tell me what the heck is going on and why this is important to you.
Right. Well, it started off as a project that I thought I could do in a month, which is, I think, the famous last words for anybody taking on something new when they think, oh, yeah, it'll only take, only a short amount of time. And you realize, no, it actually doesn't. And Project Infant will be 2 years old this July. And it's essentially a working database into looking at the number of children that died in Ireland's mother and baby homes and other similar institutions around the country. It started from a number of reasons, but the main one would be due to my mother being born in one. She was born in Besver House, which was a mother and baby home in County Cork.
All right, so mother and baby homes, was that a government thing or a church thing in Ireland?
They would have been established right around late 1921, early 1922, because when workhouses, which was a framework that had been in place before, the island of Ireland was split into Northern Ireland and the Southern Ireland, or the rest of Ireland, had collapsed. So there had been calls for, some institutions to be made, because prior to obviously the division, you had workhouses in place, and the conditions, as many will know, were not great, especially for newborns or children or expectant mothers, to try and have a safe environment to give birth in. And the idea was that there would be separate institutions, hence the mother and baby homes, to fill in that gap and to kind of supplement the kind of institution system that was in place. And the main ones were mother and baby homes, and you had ones all around the country. Some were, I was going to say some were better than others, but to be honest, they weren't really great in any sort of way, because more often than not, you'd find incredibly high death tolls. For example, like the one that we just released had about, well, it had 3,600, but myself and volunteers are working on uncovering more names, and we were able to release about 2,300 about 2 weeks ago.
Let me back up just a little bit.
Yeah, sorry.
When we're talking,
off if I don't stop myself.
I know. It's hard to get you to stop talking about something that you feel so passionate about. Yeah. All right. So mother and baby homes in Ireland. What about Northern Ireland? And
yes.
Is it
So,
all of the island we know of?
well, Northern Ireland did have them. England had loads, Scotland had many, even America had some. Uh, but the Catholic run institutions in Ireland were, you did have, obviously, as there was only 6 counties in Northern Ireland, there's obviously going to be a smaller concentration of them, but there would have been
Right. Okay.
ones. One of the ones I've heard is Marion Vale, so
Yeah.
Marian Vale. And that was a Northern Ireland home that I think the remnants of the building had been demolished recently, um, as it was a
So,
fairly run down
so,
building now at this point.
so
But
like
it was,
the problems with the workhouses, which had
yes,
basically deplorable conditions and such, a typical mother and baby home carried along in that fine tradition of having
yes.
deplorable conditions, and sometimes the nurse on duty overnight was not a nurse, it was a fellow, do you call them inmates? How do
Yeah, it may be a term that has been used.
Yeah,
And yes, more often than not, it would kind of be the other expectant mothers. Like a typical conditions for women who'd be working in the homes would be, you'd be if you ever look up the story about Terry Harrison, who was a mother who was in Bessborough and then later moved to St. Patrick's in Pelletstown, she
yeah.
recalls, doing the heavy work of, scrubbing floors while you're heavily pregnant. And for my own grandmother, the book Bessborough is where I was reading that, and it was um I had to put it down because I couldn't like stop thinking about my own grandmother in that position. Because I think she was in around the same time as Terry was. And it was just like, well, this was her point of view, then I don't think my own grandmother's would have been the same. And it just toyed with me a little too much that I just had to like put the book down, and I haven't actually gone back to it yet, because I think I need to be in a certain so like state of mind before I can even like pick it up again. And
Very,
I'm not
very.
sure if I'm quite there yet, but it is just
So,
it's an ongoing thing,
all
really.
right. So you and I got to be well, I got to know you toward the end of Mondays with Myrt before I retired, the old Mondays with Myrt. Now I'm an even older Mondays with Myrt. It's like 2 years older. And you helped me with the archiving of all of my blog posts and my. Okay, somebody needs to mute, guys. Thank you. I appreciate it. Um, and all my videos and my blog posts. But then you were doing this Project Infant, and I was curious. And so you have volunteers that work with you because you realized you cannot personally go through and identify, as Frank was saying, where are you getting the names from? So tell me a little
So
bit
the
about that.
name, yeah, so the names themselves, now I will be honest, that's actually probably the most neglected part of the site. I haven't actually done many of the findings reports. You can have a look at the Kilrush one, will probably be a good one to look at.
Okay, all right.
But it's just kind of the way we do it is the government themselves had done oh yeah, I was just going to say, if you click on the file name rather than the download button, you'll actually be able to open it in
Okay,
the browser.
okay.
Um, or at least you should be able to, hopefully.
Yeah, it's coming
Or
up.
yeah, it sort of works. So it's just the names actually came from our own research, but the information, so like the tally of deaths per year, came from the kind of Commission of Investigation, which had kind of done research between 2015 and 2021, looking at the mother and baby homes, and so like giving, I think it was around 2,700 odd page report on like the whole thing. Now they only looked at, I think it was 14 mother and baby homes and 18 county homes. And the bit that I have here is just kind of, it's not so much my own spin, but it's just kind of like looking, or so like providing like information based off of the findings that we made, so like the cause of death, the primary cause of death. So like most of the children who had died in the Kilrush home had died of a debility, and then second cause would be marasmus
pretty
and
high
gastroenteritis, and then
percentage.
there are other ones.
That's a pretty high percentage. That's just
Yeah,
awful.
there are other ones I need to do, and yeah, you got secondary calls, and I think right down the bottom, I think are actually what's it called? It'll eventually come to me. Newspaper reports. There we go. So they were transcripts because some of the images of the newspapers were not exactly easy to read. So like in there, you can sort of read so like bits about the home through time. Kilrush is one of the shorter homes to operate. It only operated for about 10 years when that one kind of closed, and then any children that were in it were kind of sent either to, I think it was Tuam or Sean Ross Abbey, which would have opened, I think Sean Ross Abbey opened the same year Kilrush closed, so 1932. So they would have either been moved there or maybe moved up to Tuam in County Galway. So that would have been the main bit there. But what we try and look at is the homes that weren't necessarily covered by the actual commission themselves, because obviously they only looked at a very small concentration of them.
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of wanted to kind of add on to that. Um, and I agree with you, Betty Lou. And more often than not, kind of because I just did like a word cloud one time, and it was so like a list of all the surnames, and people can kind of see, oh well, these surnames are for the Stranorla home. So some people actually used it as sort of like oh well, those names definitely come from Donegal, and you can get an idea that potentially if you had any in the Stranorla home, that you could potentially have ancestors from Donegal, and that it could also be relatives of you, because for example there are also small little details inside the um, death entries that you can actually extract. And for example, for the Stranorla home, there was one mother who had lost four of her children in the Stranorla County home. She'd had four separate losses. I think it was three boys and one girl. And it was a case of I couldn't actually figure out what happened to her after that. So I think her last child that died, I think was in the 40s. And it was a case of I couldn't find a marriage, so I have to assume that she might have maybe emigrated. But that was one of the examples where I kind of go down a separate rabbit hole to the one I'm already in, and trying
Mm-hmm.
to figure out, well, what happened to you type
So
idea. And it's just, the I don't know. It's just for something that was so like haunting for like the country of Ireland, because there's a very good chance that you have a relative in one of the homes, or if you know someone in Ireland that they know someone who was born in one of these homes, and was either adopted or fostered out or whatever it may be. And it's just trying to make people realize that while it may have happened to only a small amount of people, that small amount of people so like grew, and the next thing you know, many more kind of not so much crawl out the woodwork, that's probably a bad way of putting it, but just kind of more comes to light in terms of you realize that, well, this is not a small concentrated type issue, this is a wide spread around the country type part of history that not everyone wants to accept or realize or talk about.
the thought, I mean, you're not the only one that's upset about this. And I wanted to ask you, of your volunteers, what
Yes.
are they volunteering to index? And then what do you do after that? Because you've got some very motivated volunteers that are working with you.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm so lucky to be in the position I am with the volunteers that I have who are just as motivated as I am to try and do the same kind of
Mhm.
research and try and tell the same, or to try and tell the story of the women and children who had died in these institutions. And essentially, if you ever volunteered for Project Infant, you would be kind of looking at death registers, trying to find the names of those, because the main reason I did this is because nobody knows the names. So going into looking at any of these homes, nobody knows any of the names of those who died. So you'd be looking at potentially hundreds of death entries, trying to find the information and then enter it into a spreadsheet.
Okay,
And
so you're
then,
looking at
and
death records by locality of
yes,
and then as you're going through these death records that are available online, when it says the such and such home, then you know it's one of those names to now speak and to document and to enter into your worksheet, your shared worksheet.
yes.
And do they say they save the link to the death certificate?
Yeah.
And are they good about listing the mother and the father or not?
Unfortunately, it depends. Because with the death records, when it comes to county homes in particular, county homes were a little different to mother and baby homes. While they were another institution of the whole kind of umbrella of kind of like the institutions that house children and women, you had county homes catered to, you know, the elderly, the ill, the uh, basically anyone and all, young children, teenagers,
Mm-hmm.
it was basically anyone. And when it came to actually looking at the young children, you would have to kind of have a fair idea of like occupations, because the only way you could kind of tell if it was an unmarried mother's child would be if it said an occupation like um domestic servant's child, or it physically named, if it named a mother, then it was an unmarried mother's child. If it named a father, or if it named a father's occupation, or an occupation typically a man would have, you would be able to kind of discern between the two, because that would be um, for example, a soldier's child would not be kind of an unmarried mother's child. It would be a child of a married couple.
Yeah.
So it's just trying to have a fair idea of what you're looking at. And then in other cases, it doesn't even give an occupation. So you have to just stick it in regardless.
Mm-hmm. So are there addresses on those records so that it says mother and baby home in this particular place?
Usually you'd have to try and establish what name it had gone by. So, for example, county homes, again,
Oh my
started around the
God,
same
that's
time as.
a whole other level of complication.
Oh yeah, there is complication in it. I will not lie.
Yeah.
So like the county homes that had started in the 20s had renamed practically, I think every one of them
Okay.
renamed to a saint's name in the 50s, and then became hospitals. So
Oh
a
dear.
lot of the hospitals we have in Ireland now were formerly county homes. So kind of it's just kind of looking at all of that in general. And for mother and baby homes, they've been given different names. So, like, you had one of them that had about three different names. So, Pelletstown, the one I just did, was known as Pelletstown, St. Patrick's, or its later address, which I haven't found an example of, as that was more a later name, was Eglinton House. So kind of you'd have to look into like the local area, just trying to establish the names before you even start, because you could go looking at 30 death registers, and you might have missed 15 because you didn't realize that one of the names that kept popping up was actually the name of the institution.
Yeah. So this is really in-depth, reasonably exhaustive research. I mean, it's very, you have to draw inferences. You have to know the possible alternate names of the institution. Dang, that's a lot of work. Well, kudos to you. I've sent these two articles out. The commission that he was referring to was the Commission on the Investigation into Mother and Baby Home. Took them 6 years to do this. They came up with their report, but it was woefully lacking. And you're doing your job, and I appreciate you doing that because it's important to get the message out. Thank you, Daniel. All right, what's next on the docket? I gotta go look. Wow. So many things to think about. Okay, let us go down and talk to Randy and pull him up on the panel. He did a blog post, and are you going to want to share your screen or have me do it?
Why don't you do it?
Okay, I'm happy to do it. 1 second here.
It would look the same. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, there we go. Come back and screen share. Okay, what is the deep thing you're going to be talking with us about today?
Well, MyHeritage came up with a deep nostalgia feature a number of years ago, 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And then they changed the name to Live Story in 2020, a year later.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's DeepStory. I don't know when it changed, but now it's called DeepStory. And so there's a MyHeritage knowledge base article and video about it available. The video on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And I did it once back in 3 years ago, and didn't do anything with it after that. Another thing on the to-do list, you know.
Oh yeah.
And so I took another look at it last week, and wow, I like it. Again, it's a talking person, but it's your photo of somebody talking, your grandmother, your mother, whatever.
Yeah.
The problem is it's not their voice unless you have a voice clip, and I don't know how to put a voice clip in. I think my preference would be that I would do the speaking in my voice when I'm talking about someone I don't have a picture for. So it limits it to, the last couple generations. But you can upload just one photo to DeepStory of the person that will talk.
Mm-hmm.
And then you click a button and you can use the profile of that person, say your grandmother, to come up with I don't know how many characters, a couple hundred characters profile of them based on what's in the person profile on MyHeritage. And so I've done about 10 of them now, but I figured out eventually that I could upload photos. Once you have the story, then you can edit the story, and you can edit the photo that shows with that part of the story. They're in paragraphs.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can add 8 or 10 photos, and I did that for my mother's in the sample here. So that's my mother talking, and again.
So basically, you have a profile on MyHeritage. You let this deep, what are they calling it now? Deep
Story, yeah.
Deep Story.
You pick a photo.
You give them that photo or a couple of photos so they can get the gist about somebody. Oh, that's interesting. And then
you can add a photo, and the person keeps talking, and the photo will change whenever you get off that paragraph and on to the next one.
And the paragraph is something you write.
The paragraph is written initially by MyHeritage from the profile. It's all fact-based, but you can go edit each paragraph. And so I edited this paragraph, you know, all the paragraphs to reflect what's in the photo.
Okay.
And it may take major editing. You can add paragraphs. You can move paragraphs around. So it's pretty good. That one is 3 minutes long and is 24 megabytes in size. I can upload it to YouTube, or I can put it in my Forever thing. I can put it in a blog post. I can put it on Facebook because I have the video with audio. The problem is that sometimes you don't have a photograph of the person. You can't choose the right photo first. You say, okay, give me DeepStory for my mother, and it picks another photo. Okay. Afterwards, you can then change that photo, the talking photo. So once I figured that out, I did about 10 of them, and I still have to edit and add photos for those others. But this is a way to share with your family stories in video and audio about their ancestors or their relatives. So I think it's great. I would really like it if there was an option that I could use my photo and talk, telling the story. I'd edit the story, obviously, because sometimes I don't have a photo of, like second great grandparents.
I get this. So now we're getting some comments, and Ellen, what did you run into challenges like you didn't have an initial photo for your great grandmother?
No, I just screen grabbed one. So yeah, that was pretty easy actually. And then, but it's choosing the right, whether you want to have it straight, a full front is the better, I think. And then I chose to pick people that I maybe haven't heard for a while, or like, I don't know what I sounded like when I was a little kid talking. So I chose voices that I thought were appropriate.
So you could have a British man doing your childhood thing if that's the voice sample you chose to use.
Yeah. So I chose a British voice for my great grandmother.
Okay. Well, good. Well, Frank has a good question for you, Randy. Let's go to Frank.
Yeah, what's the maximum in length? Because, for example, I have a written document from one of my relatives that is not alive anymore, where he has written down all of his experience as he fled from Eastern Prussia. And so,
so it's long.
I would do that in a story that will be way too long.
Yep, I know. I don't know what the length is. My mother's is the longest one I've tried. I was going to try more, add more to it, but I haven't done that yet. So I don't know. MyHeritage probably knows. 3 minutes seems like a long time because it's 24 megabytes. And for EmulateMe, they tried to keep it down to under 2 minutes. I don't know if anybody saw EmulateMe at Roots Tech or on my blog. But it's another one where I'm talking in my voice, and I uploaded a voice sample. I uploaded a photograph of me so I could talk, and then I uploaded I did a 22-page biography, and so people can ask me questions, and it will answer with me speaking, with my voice, with my mouth moving, but yeah, kind of strangely sometimes. But with an AI interpretation of my story, responsive to the question. So they showed that at Roots Tech, and they had Leonardo da Vinci and some other fellow inventor to do that. So it was, I'm trying these things. I don't know what my daughters didn't like the EmulateMe one. In the beginning, we thought that deep nostalgia and DeepStory was kind of creepy. I think the DeepStory mouth movement is pretty natural. So if you want to tell stories, this is one way. And if you want to save them and put them on a YouTube channel or into a Forever account, or send them off to your kids, put them in a Google Drive and give the kids access, this is one way to do it.
Pretty.
And there may be more coming. With AI, you don't know. This is early AI for genealogy.
Very interesting. Okay, well, thank you very much. All right, I want to show you something on my YouTube channel, if I can bring that up. And both of my hosts on this side are needing to leave the room, and it's just about our time to go. I want to show you this option real quick. I need to share my screen, but let me get to YouTube first. I chose to do something, let's see, at Dear Myrtle Archive. And that name is due to our friend Daniel. He made up that name. All right, am I sharing my screen? Let me pull it up. This is kind of a little bit of housekeeping. All right. And we're going to zoom in a little more. One of the things that I wanted to tell you is that for last week, here's our live. It shows up at the top as soon as it goes live. And for last week, when you look at it, and I'm going to mute it, it is muted, you will notice that as you go along, this progresses, the chat. I let the chat persist. This is why it's really important what you're saying on the YouTube side, and why we have people like True Lewis over there. That as you are watching the show in the recording, this chat moves along. We'll have the same links that we're sending out during the live. It's as if you who are arriving late to listen or watch. Some people listen to Mondays with Myrt, like my old wonderful neighbor, Maria Tegmeyer, who's house hunting today. When she listens to Mondays with Myrt, she's usually folding her laundry. And but if you need a link, it's going to be right there, somewhere showing up in the chat. And that chat is tied to the video, and it will progress together. Somebody's trying to download it right now as we speak. I'm not doing that. Please don't go there and do that, whoever it is. Oh, I was showing how to do something. Silly old me. Anyway, that's one thing to tell you about, that I've turned on that option, and not very many people do that on YouTube. They make the live chat go away when the live stream stops. This that we're in now is called a live stream. Videos that I upload are in this video area, and right now, starting yesterday, every day I'm going to be showing or releasing another one of those hybrid society meeting short subject videos that Cousin Russ and I did together. I do too. I agree with Dr. Shelley. I like to hear his voice. But for past live streams, here they are. And I love that comes up when you do the mouse rollover, because indeed, all are welcome in our meetings, young and old, boy, girl, trans, LGBTQ, different religions. I really like hearing about other cultures and what you call a record set in one country versus another. So we like that kind of diversity. So those are my two bookkeeping announcements. Let's see if I missed anything else on the docket. And by the way, thank you, Randy, for talking about EmulateMe and also the deep stories. I sent the links to the chat. I hope you all have those. There's a link to the commission post and yeah, Project Infant. Man, we've had quite a busy, busy day. Let's see if there's anything else. I do want to bring up a question, and it's a software question. And I'm going to bring up several people on the stage. The software question happened to be about Roots Magic, but didn't have to be. It could be about any genealogy software program. For instance, Family Tree Maker now has a new version, 224 or 2024 instead of 2019. The person who posed the question, and you guys, your mics are all on, that this person had installed Roots Magic 9, the updated version, and initially imported the Roots Magic 7 database in there. But then by mistake, she went back to Roots Magic 7 and added more information. And she wanted to know if there was a way to either import the most current Roots Magic, that older version database, into Roots Magic 9 without getting duplicate records. Or does she need to delete Roots Magic 9, the more recent version, and just bring in Roots Magic 7 to begin with? She understands her mistake, and she knows she will only be adding data in Roots Magic 9, the newest version, next. So raise your hand visually so that Randy has an opinion. Jump in here, Randy.
So it's a complicated problem. Do we know if she added anything to the Roots Magic 9 file?
No.
She didn't, or we don't know?
No, she did not. What she did was, just out of habit, she hit the icon and was in Roots Magic 7 and wasn't thinking about it. So she made a mistake.
Yeah, I think, in that case, then bring in Roots Magic 7 file again and into Roots Magic 9 and go to work with it. The other option, was she using ancestry member trees and
that was not mentioned in the query.
Okay, and that's the third complicated issue, because you can only be tree sharing with one ancestry tree for each database.
Yeah, we're just talking about the raw data.
Yeah.
And that is another issue too, because if she never goes into Roots Magic 7 again, she has to reestablish a relationship with ancestry member tree. So if she happens to update there, she can update.
I don't think 7 works now with ancestry member tree with tree sharing. So you have to use 9, I think. And
you're right.
Now, if she had 2 trees, one that she'd worked on in 7 and one that she'd worked on in 9, then you could bring the 7 tree into a separate tree in 9, and then compare the trees and find the differences and pick which one you want, I think.
Yep. You can actually drag and drop.
Yeah.
If you added 3 new generations to one person, you can get that, you can grab that over on the that one person in the newer database and bring it over and place it, and it'll say, is this the same as that person? And then it pulls it over beautifully. Anybody else have a different thought about it? Randy, you've really added a lot to our conversation today. Ursula also has a question.
Yes, and it's a Mac question, actually, because I'm new to Mac, and I'm looking for a family tree software. I have a German one that only works on Windows, which I love. but I need something for Mac, and it should also work well with the ancestry trees. So that probably leaves it up to Family Tree Maker, I would think. But
Well,
I'd like to hear what other people think.
all right, so this is the end of our time to be working together. So what I'd like to have people do is oh, I just got an important note here from, I'm so glad our resident family tree maker experts around. The family, please mute your mic if you're not speaking because I'm getting a lot of feedback. Thank you. Family Tree Maker 2024 is not yet released and is only available as a pre-order. Okay, so thank you for fixing that for me or letting me know. All right. Yeah. So let's do this. I've noticed even among my panelists, there's a greater number of Mac users. And True, are you a Mac user? You're muted, dear. True Lewis? There we go, darling.
Okay, sorry about that. Yes, I am. I'm on the Mac Family Tree 10, I think it is.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So that doesn't tree share with Ancestry.
Trying to get here by 6, but
If she was able to
Okay.
hear.
Somebody else has a comment?
Oh,
No, that was Hillary's husband.
yes.
Okay.
I'm out
So,
of practice.
yeah.
I had too many things going on back there. But yes, I'm on Mac Family Tree 10, and I do use my Family Tree Maker, but I'm more of a Mac Family program user.
Yeah. And you do a lot of research.
Yes, personally and for other people and for other
You help
things.
them get into the DAR, maybe?
I am on the National Committee for African American Specialty Research team. I'm on that.
Do you hear what she's saying? This is our True Lewis, and she's working at the national level for the Daughters of the American Revolution, specifically with the African American team. That's awesome. All right, so what we'll have to consider then is that whatever program you use, I believe you should update to the most recent version, because when it's a whole version upgrade as opposed to those incremental updates, upgrade means a lot of changes. Update just means a few little tweaks they have to put out because Ancestry changed its access API or something like that. You want to have the latest, greatest. Be sure to back up first. So that person, in the case of Roots Magic, we don't have to worry about it when it imports Roots Magic 7 into Roots Magic 9. It doesn't touch 7 other than to use it to bring the data over. You could still do as this person did, which was go back to 7 and use it unknowingly. But always back up before you do anything major with your genealogy database. And most importantly, let me mention why I want you to have your own database. And that is, you are going to be using information items, documents, photos, etc., from a variety of websites. And some of those websites don't permit you to inadvertently share with your Ancestry member tree or another website. You may use it personally for yourself or your client, but not for uploading to another site. It's a term of service violation, and we don't want to have that. Secondly, if you only use one website, it's possible that your data will get changed if it happens to be family search, which is one big tree. They do have a part where you can upload your final database and it will never get changed. But we're not discussing that. We're talking about the main tree at family search. I have known people, this happens very rarely, who have an ancestry member tree, and that's it. No personal genealogy management program like Ursula's searching for. Looks like Mac Family Tree is what True likes. And here's what happens. You do not, yes, it's private or public, and you are the only one at Ancestry, in an Ancestry member tree that can change it unless you've given somebody access. Like my daughter Carrie has access should I pass away. She needs to be able to carry on. But Ancestry has lost trees. Very upsetting if it happens to you. And I mention it not to say that Ancestry is a bad site. It's a good site, especially for U.S. research. Outside of the United States, they're not the biggest resource for you. Yeah. But Ancestry, uploading something from Find My Past on your British Ancestry, having that in your database and then uploading it inadvertently with a tree share to Ancestry, that's a term of service violation. And we don't want you to get into trouble. True, I've kept you on the screen a long time, babe, and I appreciate you. Thank you for being on the outside. Thank you on the YouTube side, and for being in here to watch what's going on. True is, we did study groups together. We worked on your DAR application initially together. It's an honor to have you there, and I thank you for working the YouTube side and for training me sometime later today. Also, have a great birthday next week. And you say we consistently had about 50 watching. What were the numbers like on that side? Not that I really care about numbers, but what happened over there?
It was up to about 50 or so for a while. We've held steady that long, so you're good to go.
Yeah. And for Jenny, I should tell her that just as it has been in the past, we have a small number that attend in person and a great number who watch it within the next week. So we had, I think, a little bit more than that last week attending live, but after 3 days we had about 700 something views. So I don't pay attention to the numbers, but I'm just glad people are here, and I appreciate you. All right. Well, there's really nothing left to say, but I'm Dear Myrtle, your friend in genealogy. Not so retired anymore. Happy family tree climbing, everybody. That's a wrap.